As you might have seen earlier in the day, that the industry has grown fairly robustly. The industry has grown at about 12.7%. Domestic supplies have also been solid, and we've still got a growth of about 5% in global markets. So tailwinds of the industry continue. Overall, however, there are some headwinds because of this West Asia crisis. Raw material prices have gone up. Supply chains are a little bit under pressure. For MSMEs, especially, working capital cycles have got elongated. So I think there are some tailwinds, but on the positive side, there are some headwinds. But on the positive side, we're looking forward to these FTAs that are BTAs and FTAs that are coming up. These will open up new markets for component players and for our mother industry, which is the OE.
All right, sir. So how do you see demand for the Indian auto components industry evolving over the next 2 to 3 years?
I remain positive. I think in the last 12-18 months, the OE industry has done well, and we are suppliers to the automotive OE. That continues to grow. So the domestic demand for that should stay robust. Like I said, these new FTAs that are in the offing will add to new markets and our ability to compete better in these new markets. Exports is a large part of our industry as we go forward. About 24 billion worth dollars of export, growing in most of the countries. Apart from the US, didn't grow last year because of tariffs and other disruptions, but we're certainly hoping that with these new agreements coming into place, that will also grow. So both the domestic industry as well export markets will add to the growth of the industry. Both, you're seeing it in two sides of the story. You're seeing it in traditional components, and you're seeing it in new technology components. So on the traditional side, you're seeing investments coming in, a lot of traditional technologies like engine components, polymer rubber components. You're seeing it in noise vibration systems. On the new side, you're seeing this transition to EV. So you're seeing new EV technologies. You're seeing it in new infotainment systems. You're seeing in the new electronics that are there in your and my car as we go forward. So two different types of investments are going in, one in traditional technologies, which are growing both domestically and export, and in newer technologies because the demand for those technologies is starting to evolve in India, and localization content is continuing to grow as this vehicle park continues to grow. The headwinds is geopolitics in some ways. This whole uncertainty around global markets and global supply chains is the headwinds. Raw material pricing has been impacted because of shipping, because of container availability or slowdown in availability. Working capital cycles have gone up. So these things are current headwinds, which hopefully, as the West Asia crisis settles down, will settle down. No, we've just gone to China, and the purpose was to see what's happening with evolving technologies. And we went to the China Auto Show, saw all these new technologies being showcased there. We went into the supply chain. We visited about 8-9 different factories in electronics, in battery supply systems, in traditional components. It's interesting to see the scale that they operate. It's also interesting to see the amount of automation that they put in place. We certainly learned from it, and we certainly will implement that as we go forward.
So our exports have also grown well. We've grown to $24 billion last year. And that apart, we also have a segment which is the sales and service part of the industry, the aftermarket. The aftermarket has also grown very well. It's also grown close to 10% last year.
So is it about the domestic market, or does it also include the overseas sales?
So both, as I said, what we produce, one, in the domestic market, it is consumed by the vehicle manufacturers because we're the component makers. We also have an arm which is the aftermarket, and this is the domestic market. And for exports, again, as I said, the exports have done very, very well. The US and the Europe together are our largest export markets. but as things are improving, we are hopeful that the exports to Asia will resume. But having said that, I'm happy to mention that overall export performance continues to be very, very robust, despite a lot of the geopolitical challenges that we are seeing. But given the fact, if what has happened in this first quarter, if we continue to perform as well, there's no reason why we shouldn't be growing in the range of 8 to 10%.
8 to 10%.
Yes, yes.
And despite the given fact that the US-Iran peace deal is there,
Yes.
chances of war are negligible.
Well, as I said, there are geopolitical challenges that are there, and despite geopolitical challenges, our exports continue to do well. US is our single largest market for export, and despite the fact that there have been issues on tariffs imposed by President Trump, our exports have not come down to the US. So I'm very hopeful that the exports will continue to do well.
How FTAs are playing their role in this export?
So we are one of the few associations that supported the government to go and sign the FTAs. We've been very vocal about supporting the government for the FTAs, and today, if we take all the total number of FTAs, there are probably around 50 FTAs that India has signed, and I guess there's a never before opportunity for the entire industry. From our perspective, as I said, Europe is one of our largest market, so we're very happy that the government has signed the US-EU FTA, and hopefully that will come into being sometime later this year. But before that, we'll have the UK FTA that's going to get effective very, very soon. And the government is also working on an FTA or a bilateral trade agreement with the US. So these are important markets, and I hope we can take advantage of this.
So how is the industry preparing for the transition to electrical vehicles, while maintaining ICE competitiveness?
So I think the auto component industry is very ready to be a part of the EV supply chain. All tier 1 suppliers definitely are ready to supply to the EVs, and today EVs account for around 5% of our turnover.
So what are the challenges in this industry?
Well, I think the challenges is, of course, I would look at more the opportunity to deepen. As of now, I would say that compared to the ICE industry, the EV market is very, very small. I would say it's not exciting enough for the auto component industry. But I'm sure with the kind of traction that the EV industry is having now, it will soon become very, very big.